Awesome. So thank you all for coming to my presentation, and feel free to join in the dialogue at any point or ask any questions along the way. We have a poll everywhere on the screen here for you all to access. So if you all would like to go in, and the question at hand is, how do you feel about studying? So if you all would like to begin to, you could use this on your phone, on your laptop, and other devices and things like that. And then we could see how you feel about studying. Going into studying, is it something you enjoy? Is it a stressful experience? How do you do it? Just in general, what comes up when you think about studying? And you can all dialogue as well too if you'd like to engage verbally as well.
Well, for me, studying, a lot of people would say like it's soothing for them, but like I feel like it's stressful, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Just from my point of view, it's just because like words to me, like they get bunched up all around and then they get mixed up, and then I tend to read the wrong words, and then I'm just like, what is that?
Right, for sure.
So that's just for me.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else have any experiences that they'd like to share?
I think I have to really put myself, like get my mindset ready that I need to study and really engage in the material, but at the same time, it's hard for me to stay focused and to like fully engage with like the whole time that I need to be studying.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And as you can see, a few different things we have here is studying, the environment you're in, focusing. It's got to be difficult, but it depends on the subject. Let's see what else there is. Undistracted, learning, useful, focused. So those are some of them that I'm seeing popping up. I'll give you all another second to submit some, and then we'll go on to the next thing. So I'll read from the chat as well. So Justin says that he finds studying useful, but can only study for a couple of hours at the most, which is very relevant as well. Well, this is awesome. So with that being said, so an overview of what we'll be going over today is what exactly it is that you need to study, and that can depend on each individual, as well as how you study best personally, as well as a few tips on how to plan, balance, and manage your time, a way to self-care and reward yourself, and then we could share with others as well. Some theories on studying, I'll go over 2 specifically, and then just a few general tips and tricks and things that you all would like to share to be more effective when you do study. Do you all have any questions so far? No? Cool. So what exactly is it that you need to study? I'll give you all a couple minutes to respond here. Space. See music and distractions. A textbook. Motivation, relaxing, material, notes. These are awesome. Would anyone like to share verbally maybe something that you'd like to study?
I really like how music stands out a lot. I cannot study in like a quiet space, so even like I need some kind of background when I'm studying.
Mm-hmm. Was someone else gonna speak as well? I think.
Oh yeah, so like I would like to also agree. I feel like music plays a big role when I study or even when I'm doing homework. Like I usually play like soundtrack or like soothing music to go along with it and
Hmm.
like kind of like relieve like some stress and like it puts me at ease and focus. And apart from that, I also like talk to like other classmates in my class that I'm like close with
Hmm.
in that way because I feel like it's really important to like get other people's like opinions and perspectives on like what we learned and like how they can provide different examples can like be really beneficial as
Hmm.
well.
So I hear you saying making groups and connections, and that helps you study.
Yeah.
Does anyone else relate to that?
Definitely. Having different point of views uh, makes you see something you didn't see it that way, or it just opens your eyes to like different possibilities and different outcomes that you didn't see.
Hmm. For sure. Thank you all for participating. So what exactly is it that you need to study? A few things that were mentioned are different supplies like a desk or a laptop, your notes, as well as where it is that you're studying, what the environment is. A lot of you all mentioned music as well. So how do you plan to study? And we'll go more into depth on that as well, of the different ways that you can study and maybe help remember certain things. And as you all mentioned, music, silence, white noise, and there's a variety of things in between, as well as how much time you need to complete a specific task assignment, whether it's studying before an exam or other things like that. And there's a variety of different things you can think about in that sense as well, and managing your time in general. And then again, as I mentioned, thinking about how it is that you're going to best remember the given information. So planning. Planning is, I think, the first step that you need to think about whenever you're going to accomplish a task. So you have to set goals, not just whatever goals you want to do, say, in the future, but also like creating personal deadlines. So if you have an assignment due this Friday, maybe set a deadline for Wednesday. And then once you hit your deadline on Wednesday, you can take a break from it and then come back to it before it's due. And then you'll have more time, you'll be less stressed, you won't procrastinate as much. At least that's the idea, but this can, of course, help with that. Also think about what are your different responsibilities and commitments. Maybe you have a family at home you have to take care of. Maybe you work as well. You're going to school since you're here, but there's lots of different things that maybe you're responsible for at home and in your daily life, as well as taking care of yourself and having a social life and having friends and things like that. So what different types of things are you committed to, or different responsibilities that you have to kind of juggle in your not just academic career, but your whole life? What are the different things and aspects of your life that come to mind or maybe get in the way of focusing on your assignments? But we'll get into like distractions a little bit later, so that's not quite what this question's looking at. How do you all feel your commitments and responsibilities affect your like schooling and your education? Would anyone like to share that?
It would. For me, my family is like my number one. Like my health and my family's health is number one. So especially like right now, that all these professors are like giving so many assignments because we have all this time because we're not really doing anything. But like I'm worried because I'm focusing on my family because I never get to see my family because I don't live at home. But now I do. So like getting to spend time with my family is time that I never get. And then also like my mom is an essential worker, so like thinking about her health whenever she's at work. So like that takes up time, and then I forget that like just online classes is like hard to remember, but also like having to worry about that as well. It's kind of hard.
For sure. Thank you for sharing. Would anyone else like to share maybe some commitments or responsibilities that you have that come into play whenever you're learning and trying to focus on academics? Okay, cool. So we'll go on to the next slide. So to continue why planning is important, not only do you have to think about all these responsibilities and commitments, but how can you balance them? You need to make sure that maybe you have a planner or allotted time or a specific day that maybe you spend with family, or a day that you take care of yourself, or a day to hang out with friends. Those are things to focus on your social and your personal health and well-being, but also thinking about other aspects like work. If you have certain work responsibilities, maybe you're not able to focus on those other tasks as much as you'd like to. So being able to balance those is really a skill, and it takes a lot of practicing to balance that effectively. But if we're able to start planning now, we can plan for anything that may come into our way. So how is it that you manage your time? What have you found effective whenever you're trying to focus and manage your time and these different things that you have to juggle? Plan out assignment timelines, planner, alarms. I really love the alarms one. I make alarms for almost everything. An agenda, if you would like to share, would you like to elaborate on that? I'd like to hear more about what all you do with an agenda.
So like for an agenda, like usually I do it by like daily. So I would wake up. So it's either the night before or early in the morning when I do wake up, where I set like an agenda of like, all right, what do I have to do throughout the day? You know, just so I can feel like I can do things throughout the day rather than just go by the floor and just, if I do complete something like a task or a chore, I'm just like, okay, now what do I do? Instead of just like wandering off, like I would kind of have like a mindset of like, okay, I still have these things to do. So kind of like go, you know, what I still have to do. And yeah, I try doing that like on a daily basis, especially during this time.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I like that. I like doing that. I have a to-do list myself, so that kind of hits home for me. And I see a lot of different things. I like that Siri reminds me. That's awesome too. And whatever works, really, that's the best thing that works for you. That's cool that Siri can remind you too that we have that technology now. Would anyone else like to add any other tips on managing your time to the whole group?
So I have a lot of my assignments due either like on a Sunday, like Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. So I have like the rest of the week to complete all the assignments. So usually like one day I'll work on an assignment and kind of just like, okay, this day I'm going to dedicate to that. This day I'm going to dedicate to that assignment and try to get it done before the deadline. And the easier assignments I put towards that are closer to the deadline, just because I know I won't be stressing about it too much, and put the harder assignments at the front just because I know those can take me longer. So if I need more than one day on the assignment, then I'm not like struggling to finish it before the deadline.
For sure. That's really, I've heard that from a lot of people as well, that always try and get the harder assignments done first, so that way you have less to worry about. And like you said, you know, making sure that you have enough time for it. You don't want to wait to the last minute and not have enough time to do something that maybe you had to research more or think about a little bit differently. So managing your time. So you have to think about how much time you need. Like Valerie was saying a moment ago, that maybe this assignment's going to take longer, so she has to start this one earlier. You also have to think about when you have time, when you're working, when you're with your family, if you have children, different things like that, different parts of your life. When are you going to have time to actually sit down and focus and allot some time out of your day to focus on whatever task you're trying to accomplish? As well as thinking about, when do you work best? Are you a morning person? Are you an evening person, midday? Do you like to stay up late at night? Whatever that may be for you. Trying to figure that out too can be a challenge, but the more that you practice and try and figure yourself out, you'll have a better understanding of what exactly that time is that you're going to be most effective when you're learning. So that way you're going to retain the information better in the long term. So coming back to silence and music, I heard a few people mention that music is such an important part to studying. And it is for a lot of people. And I'd like to see what you all feel. Do you think that music is the best way that you study? Give another minute or so in case anyone's still submitting one. So we have a lot of music. That seems to be the most common one, but silence, I personally like silence the best, but I know that music is so helpful for other people. So I wanted to try on this resource for you all. So on this one here, on the next slide, we have another one of what are your favorite study songs? And what I'm gonna do before you all submit these is I'm going to take the list here from all of the different submissions that you all give, and I'm going to have one of my other link leaders is going to help me create a Spotify list, and I'll send out the link in the follow-up email so you can have this specific playlist to study in the future. So feel free to add multiple songs, whatever really works for you, so that others can maybe try this on as well. What do you mean by soundtracks?
So like personally, I like listening to like movie soundtracks. So kind of like if you've seen the movie like Interstellar, like the soundtrack like they have just like gives me like a relaxing vibe. So like I try listening to those type of like without people like talking. It's just really like instrumental.
That's cool. Anyone else have any other suggestions? Instrumentals, slow songs? What are movie scores to you all?
Movie scores are kind of like the same in a sense, kind of like soundtracks too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not very music knowledgeable, so I'm asking so that way I know whenever I go and create this list for you all that I can create one that's going to be most effective for you all. Any other like specific songs or anything that you'd all like to maybe share?
I've learned for me that classical music really helps because it's a lot of just instrumental but there's like still like a lot of emotion, and I like to listen to more like faster movements, faster pieces, just because it like keeps me engaged and like keeps me awake in a sense. And like classical music I can't really like sing along to because it's all like instrumental. So it's like me listening to like my favorite playlist helps too, but like I get distracted by like singing to my music, so then I can't really focus. So like classical music really helps, and even just like slow music, like easy listening music, just helps a lot.
For sure. So I can see that you want to focus specifically on what it is that you're reading or looking at and not getting distracted by the words and things that are going on in the specific song, but listening to the music in the background. We have a chat. Arctic sleeping at last. Cool. Anyone else like to share before we go on to the next part?
I would agree with Valerie. I think having like some background music, that's why I like Lindsay Sturgeon. I think she plays a lot of I think it's called cover songs. Yeah, cover songs with the violin. So it's not all the songs that I know, but I could still kind of make up some of the words if I know the songs, but I'm still also focused on whatever assignment or work that I'm working on.
For sure. Is everyone ready to move on, or would you all like to add in a few more songs to the list? I don't want to cut you all off. Is really slow motion a style of music?
They're actually what's it called? I don't know how to say it. Well, they create like instrumental music too.
Okay.
And so like, yeah, and most of their songs are pretty like soothing.
Okay, so that's a group.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll look into that. Thank you all for sharing all these lovely songs and styles and the ways that you use them specifically to study. That's awesome. So back to managing your time. So again, thinking back to planning, you got to think about when are the deadlines, because you have to focus on exactly how much time you have and you don't want to cram everything at the last minute. So again, setting a personal deadline is a great idea, and prioritizing your work, how Valerie mentioned as well earlier, of making sure that you try and do the harder assignments in the beginning and then the easier ones later, so that way you're not stressing about something that's really hard and then run out of time because you're unable to accomplish that, as well as maybe an easier assignment that you could have done as well. But whatever works best for you. So I saw in the activity that we did alarms and timers and Siri and other things like that. And I think that's an important one, because you can set alarms for almost anything, and you can set them for your breaks, you can set them for how long you need to study. And it's been shown that people who study for 20 to 30 minutes, that is the optimal amount of time to sit down and study, and you're actually going to retain it, and to take breaks that are 5 to 10 minutes long. And if you take breaks that are longer than that, then you're going to lose track of what you were studying, and you're probably not going to come back to it. So you want to make sure that you're taking a short break, as well as only studying for 20 to 30 minutes, because whenever you're focusing for that amount of time, it'll help you retain the information. But if you study for too long of a time, it may blur all together. You may get information mixed up or start to lose focus, even though you're sitting trying to understand something. Maybe just take a 5 to 10 minute break, and that can help you understand maybe more about what you're learning about. Would anyone like to share any tips on managing your time before I move on? I think I have a slide for that as well, but before I move on. Cool. So obviously some things that we mentioned that we use music for is so that we don't get distracted by, say, the lyrics, for example. What other distractors do you have? And maybe it also relates to being online and social distancing here and being at home in a different location and things like that. What other things distract you from studying? Cat, pets, for sure. People is a big one. Your phone. Everything. It's awesome, but not awesome. Overthinking. I can relate to that one, and thinking about all the different things that maybe I have to do when I can't focus on one specific task. Hungry, making sure that we're snacking, and that'll come into play in a little bit. Everyone done responding? I don't want to move on too fast for you all. Cool. This over here, maybe. Cool. So here is a list of a few different apps that may be helpful for you whenever you're studying. So on the left side here, we have 3 apps: My Study Life, the Exam Countdown Lite, and the Google Calendar and Planner. So those 3 are going to be primarily for planning and scheduling your time and trying to understand how much time you have to do things, specific tasks that you need to do, and organizing. The ones here in the middle, I'll go more in depth on. The Forest app is where you basically start to plant a seed and you try and grow a tree in a forest, and it develops from there. And the way that you grow this tree is by studying and staying focused. So you'll have to study for a specific amount of time in order to take care of your plant. And if you're not studying for that amount of time, or you're getting distracted and not working, or maybe go on your phone, your plan is not going to get taken care of. So it's a cool little thing, and it's an activity to make you focus more with studying. Flipped is a pretty cool and unique app that I found, and it has a lot of different functions. It'll help you, it can lock your phone so you're not getting on it and not getting distracted. It can also help, it has different resources on like wellness and things like that, so different supports, as well as you can create a group on there. And from what I understood, that you can create different groups with different people and study like as a group. So no one is going on their phone, but you're communicating through this app trying to study and focus on a specific topic. So maybe if you'd like to try that out and see how that goes for you. And then Off Time is another app that will lock your phone so you're unable to work on it for a given amount of time, so you can focus on a given task. On the right side are more specific tasks to whatever course that you may be taking. So Mathway is a app where you can write on it, so you don't have to type in, say, the specific equation using your keys and looking for a specific symbol or something on Google. You can just simply write it out, and it's kind of like a whiteboard style thing, and it can help you with graphing, it can help you with with the answers and other things like that, and it can help you just kind of solve things that are maybe like functions or things that are not so typable to answer when it's math related. Khan Academy has a variety of different courses that you can look up, and you can Google specific videos. They have activities, quizzes, and things like that can help you study, and you can specifically look up whatever course it is you're looking for or subject specifically as well. Simple Mind is another one that I found that is more of like a brainstorming app. So maybe you're trying to start getting ready to write a paper or figure out an idea for a presentation or something like that. Simple Mind is kind of like a brainstorming app, so you can look at all these different functions and trees and things like that and brainstorm what ideas link to the others to maybe help you start get writing on whatever task it is. And Duolingo is a cool little cute app that will help you study whatever language it is that you're interested in. And it'll remind you throughout the day what it is that you should be working on, or like a word of a day, or answer these few questions. So it's very simple and easy, but you can also go more in depth with it as well. So it's kind of an additional support if you are starting to learn a language or taking a course of a specific language. So maybe what of these apps are you interested in using in the future? Or what apps do you use that I didn't list that could be helpful for others? I can go back for a minute. Can you see them all? Is it all clear? Would anyone like to share any apps that maybe you use today that I didn't mention? Okay. Anyone else like to add on? And I'll move on to the next slide. I don't want to cut anyone off as well. Chegg, yes, Chegg is a useful resource. Cool. So reward yourself. So whenever you're going to focus on studying, you need to have a goal in mind, as I mentioned in the beginning, because of planning. You have to plan something in order to accomplish something. So in order to reward yourself, think about what it is that you need. So again, taking breaks, short, simple breaks, even just walking around your house or taking a breath outside, especially in times like this. Making sure you're taking care of yourself in all different aspects, physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, and personally. So these are all different aspects of yourself that you should be considering, and try and balance those as well, not just focus on one. Make sure that all aspects of yourself are coming together and making sure that you're healthy. A few things that I think are kind of essential that was mentioned earlier, that if you're hungry, you can't focus. So always drinking water will keep you hydrated, as well as eating snacks throughout the day. It'll help you stay focused again, and it'll give you a little break, and you can have somewhat of a break while you're working as well in some cases. Something too that I've heard, that if you chew gum and if you chew a specific flavor of gum while you're studying, and then whenever you go to take the exam, if you chew the same exact type of gum, it'll help you retain the different ideas or things that you learned when you were studying, because there's something in the connection of the taste of the gum. And you could do that with essential oils as well, but you can't quite take an essential oil to class, but there are certain ones that can help you focus and things like that. So those are also very helpful. There's a few other things as well. So you could burn candles if you're able to and you're given space, and it can help with your lighting as well, because lighting can affect your studying as well. So maybe you like a white light or a yellow light. There's different lightings. So thinking about that could maybe affect how you're focusing as well. Also making sure to take care of yourself and breathe, because sometimes we can get so focused in something and not even think about breathing. So just stepping back for a minute and taking a breath is kind of relaxing and help you refocus again. And then the last thing that I think can be used in a variety of different ways is journaling. For me, I use a ton of different Post-its, and there's so many on my desk here. And that's what keeps me in order of what different things I need to do. And then I feel accomplished because I can throw away this little Post-it. But other people like to also write down whatever it is that they did. So something that is very helpful with feeling accomplished, like you actually did something today, kind of how Andres mentioned about the agenda in the beginning of the workshop here, that setting an agenda for whatever you need to do in a given day, and then at the end of the day, maybe if you journal about what it is that you accomplished, the end side of it. So writing down everything that you did in that given day, whether it's something small or a variety of tasks, it can make you feel more accomplished and feel more productive. And then you'll be more productive in the future because you see that you're actually getting things done. So how do you all reward yourself and self-care? And also opening up the discussion to anything that you'd like to share that you do. What kind of things do you like to read? I'm curious. What kind of games? Sleep is important. I should have included that as one of my bullets. Skateboarding, exercising, things along those lines. Baths. Video games. Your phone. I think I saw stretching in there. TikToks, yoga, family, time. Would anyone else like to add anything verbally of how you self-care? So this is one of the different theories that I'll go over. I'm going to go over two today. So the VARC model I've heard about, but I never knew exactly what the term was. I didn't know that it was called this specific model, but I've heard about these different aspects. So there's 4 different types of learners, and in each of the different types, maybe you have a specific way that you learn best. So maybe you're enjoying this presentation of the PowerPoint that I have presented to you, as well as being able to see my face and things like that. That maybe is the best way that you're learning. Maybe you're auditory and you enjoy listening to this presentation the most and could care less about the screen and things like that and just want to hear more information. Maybe you like to read and write and would like me to stop talking a little bit and just read the slides yourself. So maybe that's the way that you learn best, and take down notes and reread your notes and things like that. There's also kinesthetic, where you're going out and being more tactile and doing things hands-on. And that's a great way to learn as well. It's a little bit hard sometimes whenever you're in a college setting. Sometimes you're in a lecture hall and things like that. But I know some professors do throw in activities and things like that. But you can even take that on your own and do something outside relating to your field if possible, if it can relate. Not all different majors maybe are able to try it on in that sense, but they can try it on and practice it in whatever way it comes into the form. Like, say, music, you could practice singing or things like that, and that's not necessarily going out and doing something, but you're relating it to something, a physical, a tangible type of thing. Do you all kind of understand it? Do you have any questions about this? Would you like me to go more in depth? It's pretty straightforward. Cool. So before I move on, take a moment to think about maybe which one you are. So the way that I set it up only allows you to pick one. And I understand that you may have multiple that you do, because I know personally I am very visual and I like to read and write. But in other aspects, non-educational, I am very kinesthetic. So I couldn't quite choose one, but I would probably say that for me, I would be reading and writing the most. So taking a moment to think about maybe which one are you that you study, and that'll go into this next slide. So which style are you? So can I ask maybe for someone from the visual section, if you'd like to share what it is that you like visuals the best for, or how do you learn best from visuals?
Well, I didn't vote for visual, but that was my second choice.
Mhm.
I just have to see it, like if it's like instructions or stuff like that, like I have to see it in order to do it, or else I'm not really gonna understand it. Like, yeah, an explanation is good, but like I have to see it be done, or else I'm really not gonna understand it, because I won't feel like I'm gonna do it wrong.
Mm. So you like seeing like an example or something visually?
Yeah, so like for example, in a math class, like they ask us to do an equation or something, like I have to see it be done like an example in order to really understand it.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. And we don't have any auditory learners, but I think it's important too, whenever you're like taking notes, just kind of listening to something in the background. But whenever you're studying, you're going to want to focus more on the content and maybe not necessarily the background noise that you're hearing. So that's most likely why we don't have people for that. But would someone like to share why they are best at reading and writing? Why that is their style?
Well, I put read, write. I whenever I'm learning something, I have to take notes in order for me to remember it. So I have to like write it down. And like if someone's like reading out loud, like like in high school and stuff like that, people do like popcorn reading. I couldn't just really like listen to it. I would have to like read it, like or like audiobooks. I can't do audiobooks because it goes into one ear and out the other. Like I actually have to see it being. I actually have to read it, or else it's not going to stick with me. And like taking notes, just me writing it down already like makes me memorize it like that much faster.
Mm-hmm. For sure. We have lots of kinesthetic people in the room. Why do you think that's most effective for you?
For kinesthetics, a lot of my classes are kind of hands-on, especially for science, because they will want you to kind of use those techniques and skills that you learn in class in person. And that's how I kind of learn more. It's kind of like emphasizes on the learning I see from lecture and then putting it on hands in lab.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So definitely hands-on learning. It's a great way to learn different things. And all of these different aspects are great ways to learn. Just trying to figure out which you work best in will help you study better, because if you can take that approach, then you're going to be more effective when you are studying. So one other different theory that I have that I'm going to explain is called the SQ4Rs. So the first one is survey. So survey is kind of what is the purpose? Why are you doing this? What is your goal? Are you trying to complete an assignment? And then say, maybe we'll use a textbook for an example. If you're looking at a textbook, how are you going to analyze it? Are you going to skim it? Are you going to just look at the subtitles, the main headings, the pictures, kind of looking at it as an overview? And what is the point? And then the Q is question. So you're going to take these different ideas and subtitles and themes and create questions. And you're going to do this as you go. And that'll be a part of one of the other R's that we'll go over in a second. But just trying to think about, what am I going to get from this whole section or this whole paragraph? Thinking in your mind, what am I trying to get out of this? The R is to read. So this is where you're going to start actually skimming, and you're going to read maybe the first sentence, the middle, somewhere, and then the end sentence to understand kind of the overview again of the paragraph, because you don't want to spend hours reading through a complete textbook word for word. And then you're going to also pay attention to different words that are coming up a lot in your text. So maybe you're learning about art and you're learning about a specific style of art, and that word keeps coming up, but it's a new word for you. So maybe that's something you'd want to focus more on. Recite. This is where you're going to start to practice once you've created these questions. So you're going to take whatever questions you formed as you were skimming and reading and things along those lines and create like a study guide. And as you're going through your study guide, and once you've completed your reading and skimming, you're going to take it and then think about how you can answer it on your own. Are you able to answer those questions that you made for yourself without using your notes or your textbook or your other resources? And then that would lead to reviewing it. So then, are you able to rephrase it in a different way? And are you able to rewrite it just from your memory without thinking about what other aspects you're looking for? And then the last one is to reflect back on what it is that you learned. Try and give yourself an overview, not just of what you read, but how are you interpreting this? And how can you relate this to your life or your career or that given course? Try and figure out what parts of your life can relate to whatever you are learning about. And then you can connect those two things. Maybe it's creating an acronym. Maybe it's relating, for example, say you're learning about going to college. Maybe you can use your high school experience to think about maybe what college would be like. So it's not the same thing, but you're relating the two or comparing them. Different things like that are different ideas and ways to go over this. Do you all have any questions on this theory, or would you like me to elaborate more, or do you find this helpful? Cool. So you all like it? Do you think that you'll maybe use this in the future?
I actually learned about this maybe last year, and it was very helpful. I always use it now. I sometimes use it without even thinking that I'm thinking about it.
Interesting. So we have a chat, and someone said yes, that they find it helpful. So that's cool that I was able to provide that for you. And then just a few general tips from me. So making sure that you read through your syllabus, especially in the beginning of the quarter now, since you've just recently got in, you're trying to get a feel of what your classes are going to be like this quarter. Reading through any rubrics, assignments, anything that relates to what it is that you're trying to accomplish. You want to make sure that you really understand it, because if you write a beautiful paper about the wrong question, you may not get the credit that you're looking for. So those are, I think, the most essential things, that if you're not doing the right thing, you're not going to get the right grade. And also studying in groups is a great idea that a few people mentioned earlier as well. But not just studying in groups, because oftentimes people can distract you and you'll just get engaged in a conversation that sidetracks from what you're trying to learn. So really discussing the material and talking about it on a daily basis, saying random things sometimes can help people, or just telling your family about it, or even teaching someone. Teach your friends, teach your family. They don't know, most likely, what it is that you're learning at that specific moment. So try and teach them and explain it to them so that they can understand it to the ability that you want to understand it. And that'll help you figure out any flaws, or they can maybe ask questions that you may not know the answer to, and you can look up and find the answer to yourself to engage yourself in more learning outside of the class as well. So which tips do you think you may use in the future, and what other tips in general do you have? And the presentation is coming to a close, so now would be your chance to add in anything that you feel you'd like to share for everyone else in this group and this workshop today, so that way maybe they can take away something new as well from you. Or maybe if you don't have anything specific that you'd like to share, of the different tips that I shared today, what do you think you're going to take away, or you think would be interesting to share with someone else? So that way I can kind of get an idea of, in the future, which tips to continue to share and maybe new ones to add. SQR. Time management. Alarms. That's awesome. I'm glad you're going to be trying this out. Anyone like to share verbally anything that they'd like the whole group to know?
I was gonna mention something that I've kept with me throughout CSUSB is always, and like I have like my phone and have it's kind of like the alarms on my Google Calendar. Whenever I have like, say like this presentation, I would always I always go to the alarm and set it like an hour before the presentation or whatever it is that I have to do. So that way I get a reminder that day. And if it's something big, like that I have to wake up early for the next day, then I set 2 alarms, one the day before at night, just to remind myself, you know, to prepare whatever it is that I need to prepare for the next day, and then get ready and set my alarm. And then also the next day, just, you know, in case I sleep in or something happens. And that's always helped me make sure I get all my, you know, due dates and everything done on time, and not miss anything. And I mean, put your, the due dates of your midterm and final. And for those, I do a week before. That way I can study the week before and then take it the next week as well.
That's awesome. So you have like time increments between when an event is and whatever the task is, whether it's a presentation or the day before, or you need to study long-term for it. That's
exactly.
Really cool. And then I also, if you had RSVP'd whenever I sent out the link to the Zoom, there's also a few documents in there that have a calendar. So you can go ahead and you can print it, or maybe you could take it and make your own version of it and just use it as like a simple way to study in the future. So if you just write down the main assignments of like, you need to have this paper done by this given date, or an exam on this day, or a quiz, or certain homework assignments. So like the major things, because obviously throughout the quarter you have all these assignments of you need to read the textbook, you need to read this article, and things that the course has throughout the whole time. But if you focus on those main things, you can be prepared for them more. So I had attached that document as well as another one to create SMART goals, and those can help you creating the goals of how much time do you want to study this quarter, and how much time do you want to focus on a specific class, or maybe you want a specific grade, or you want to accomplish something in your personal life. Who knows what it is? So I attached that document as well. And at the end of this presentation, I'll also be sending out a link to the Spotify from the playlist that I got all of your songs from in different genres and things like that. So if there's anything that you would like to ask or discuss, I'm open to dialogue now. And then I want to make sure that I'm making sure you're managing your time as well. So we have a few more minutes until the meeting is over, and I have a class personally. So I'm not sure if you all have responsibilities, but I want to make sure I'm thinking about that as well. So would anyone like to add any comments, any questions for me? Y'all are good?
I wanted to, I wanted to mention something. I don't know if many of you are out there like reading, but you can also find it on YouTube, audio book of it. But I've been reading this book. It's called Psycho Cybernetics. It's like a personal development book. So if you're having like trouble trying to figure out how to like make your life better or what to do, this book covers everything. Covers like depression, happiness, like how to be happy, how to manage time, how to like it also uses your self image and stuff like that. And I recommend this book to everyone all the time. It's called, here, I'll type it in.
Cool. Thank you for that resource. That's awesome that there's something out there for that, and I can relate to a lot of different things, and focusing on your studies and your life as a whole is pretty awesome, and that'll help you focus on whatever it is you're trying to achieve coming here to college and reach those goals. Would anyone else like to share anything? Otherwise, you're welcome to leave the meeting, and then I'll stay for a few more moments if anyone has any additional questions afterwards. But I hope you have a great day. Best luck on studying and your exams, and this quarter as a whole, especially in this new environment we're all enjoying, I'm hoping. Thank you, and you all can have a great day. Thank you.